minutes before we get started. Today we are reading from chapter 4 of the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence. This is my first children's book, and you will see me joined by my friends Sophie, Maddie, and Izzy. I don't know if you can see them back here, but they are back here. These are Juris P. Prudence's best friends, and they're all 11-year-old lawyers, and they're all doing what they can with their law degrees in hopes of changing the law. So thanks, Carla, for tuning in from Houston, Texas. Hopefully the weather is great down there. Hey, Lisa, thanks for tuning in. If you are tuning in on IG, just let us know where you're tuning in from as well, and we'll definitely shout you out on Instagram. All right, so I'm going to get started reading from chapter 4 from the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence. If you have been tuning in, you will know that Juris P. Prudence is on a mission to change the law to get kids the right to vote. She knows that the mayor of DC, who's running for re-election, does not like kids, and she wants to do something about it. And that's something she believes is changing the 14th Amendment so that kids can get the right to vote. So Juris P. Prudence has a law degree, that's right. She's only 11 years old, but she started law school at 5 years old. And she is working hard to make sure that the current mayor of DC, Sylvester Sullivan, does not get reelected. She knows that he is not good for kids, and she says the law, the 14th Amendment, should apply to kids. And Carla is one of my law school friends who is joining from Houston, Texas. So Carla, what do you think about the 14th Amendment? Do you think that it should apply to kids? I'm cold calling you now. So I'll wait for Carla to tune in. But as we move forward, we are going to, if you have an opinion on that, if you're a kid tuning in, you can let us know. Do you think that the 14th Amendment applies to kids? Should kids be able to vote at the age of 7, which is what Juris Prudence is asking for in the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence? So in the book, Juris P. Prudence, if you've been reading and tuning in with us, you'll know that Juris P. Prudence has asked her best friend Sophie to join her in helping to change the law. She wants her best friend to help her change the law so that kids can get the right to vote. Now, Sophie, she's a thinker, and she has reluctantly joined Juris Prudence. She said, JP, you're my best friend, and I'm going to help you. And JP knows that the road is going to be very hard. She knows how hard it is to change a law. She knows that the law for hundreds of years has been that you have to be 18 to vote. But she also is very determined. She knows that if she fights really, really hard and works really, really hard, she can change the law. And so here we are. We're in chapter 4 of the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence. Hey, everyone on IG, thanks for tuning in. We have a couple of IG viewers. We're on chapter 4 of the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence. So at this point, JP, she needs to convince her other friends that they should join in this fight to get kids the right to vote. So here we are. Waiting for that day to arrive felt as though I was waiting for my 20th birthday. I could barely sleep. Every hour, I would wake up thinking about something that I needed to tell Sophie. We had to let all of the kids in school know what we were doing. We had to figure out how the heck we were going to convince people that kids should be able to vote. And we had to figure out who was going to help us do this. In the middle of my zillionth thought, my alarm went off. It did not matter because I wasn't really sleeping anyways. Most mornings, I loathed getting out of bed, but today I didn't mind. Getting through the school day just meant I was closer to discussing my plan with Sophie. Getting through the day was miserable. I had no clue what any of my teachers were saying during class. Making sure that Sylvester Sullivan did not get reelected was my top priority. During my history class, Miss Nicholson could sense that I was preoccupied. Miss Prudence, the whiteboard is in front of you, not on the ceiling. I quickly redirected my eyes and my head to face forward, instead of the ceiling. Daydreaming about how I would get kids the right to vote was at the top of my mind. I slugged through the day, and finally it ended. My notepad had 10 pages filled with notes about how we would change the law. I jolted home on my bike immediately after school ended. I didn't want to talk to anybody unless it was Sophie. When I got in the house, Granny greeted me with her usual, "Hello, honey, how was your day? And I made some peanut brittle for you. Do you want any?" I love Granny's peanut brittle more than anything. The sugar, caramel, and peanut combination seemed to melt in my mouth. While I usually never rejected peanut brittle, the one thing that I wanted more than anything at that moment was to talk to Sophie. "No thanks, Granny. Has Sophie called?" Granny did not like when someone did not want her food, and her face showed it. "You don't want my peanut brittle?" Granny totally ignored the question that I'd asked about Sophie. "Sure, Granny. I could not hide my preoccupation. I don't want a lot, though." Before I could finish, the phone rang. Granny walked to catch it, but I sprinted toward it before reaching it before her. "Hello," I shouted, hoping desperately that Sophie was on the other end of the line. "Hi, JP," Sophie responded apprehensively. She knew that I was getting impatient. "Where are you? I thought we were meeting at 3 this afternoon." "Calm down, I'm on my way. My driver was running late." Sophie had a personal driver to pick her up from her after-school activities. Today, she was coming from her student council meeting. "Okay, great. Can't wait until you get here. We have a bunch to talk about. Oh, and by the way, Granny made your favorite, peanut brittle." "Yippee, be there soon." I hung up the phone and paced back and forth, looking out of the window for Sophie's black car to pull up. It seemed like 100 years before Sophie arrived, but finally she was there. "Sophie," I shouted as the door opened. "Hi, JP, can I get some peanut brittle?" JP was focused on peanut brittle, but I wanted to discuss business. "Sophie." "Hello, honey," Granny exclaimed from the kitchen. "I made this just for you." Granny walked out with her peanut brittle the size of an entire plate. "Thanks so much, Granny." Sophie hugged Granny as if Granny had given her $1 million. "You can bring that downstairs, Sophie. We have so much work to do, and we don't have a lot of time to do it." Sophie had to be home by 5, and it was already 4. We had little more than a half an hour before Sophie had to leave to make it home in time. We walked downstairs to the basement. Granny and Granddaddy had set up an office in the basement where I did my homework each day. This was also the part of the house where I spent my quiet time reading. Granddaddy had built me my own desk and 2 small chairs. Sophie sat down, and I remained standing by the chalkboard that Granddaddy recently bought me. I usually use this board to write down all of my homework assignments, but today it had a new purpose: to map out my plan of how we were going to make sure that Sylvester Sullivan did not win this election. "Let's get started," I stated confidently. Sophie listened attentively. I knew that I had captured her interest. Sylvester Sullivan has been in office for 10 years. Since then, he has closed homeless shelters for kids and vows to take away healthy school lunches for kids. Even worse, reports have come out that he has a criminal past involving crimes against children. Sophie continued to listen attentively. I wrote out the facts that I had just mentioned on my chalkboard. "So, how are we going to get Sly out of office, JP?" Sophie asked. "We need to use our knowledge of the law to change the law. If we can get kids the right to vote, Sylvester will lose this election." "When you say kids, do you mean all kids or just kids over a certain age? I mean, we can't expect 3-year-olds to vote." "I think that at the age of 7, kids are smart enough to make their own decisions. So I think that all kids who are 7 years old and older should be able to vote." I responded to Sophie's question. I wrote down the words law and 7 years old on my chalkboard. Sylvester's opponent, Marty Goodlittle, has been supporting children for years. He helped to open a hospital a year ago. I wrote down the words Marty Goodlittle and Children's Hospital on my chalkboard. Marty has donated millions of dollars to kids charities. He has promised to make sure that all schools have healthy lunches. On the news, he said that he vows to make sure that kids are given great teachers in all schools in our city. We have to get Marty into office, and getting kids the right to vote is how we are going to do it. So let's check in and see if we have any questions. Do any of our viewers have any questions so far? Hi, Caroline. Thanks for tuning in. All right, let's continue. "I'm listening," Sophie stated, interested in what I was about to say. You're my best friend and the smartest person I know. First, I need to know that you're in. I need to know that you can give me your full support to make this happen. JP, you're my best friend too, and you know that I will do anything I can to support you. This is important. I mean, it will be absolutely huge if we can get this done. I'm in." I could tell that Sophie was excited about our new project. Great. I breathed a sigh of relief. However, I knew we were running out of time, and I didn't have time to celebrate much. I had to finish discussing everything before Sophie had to leave. Second, we need help if we are going to get this done. Who do you think will help us? Sophie asked. Well, I've been thinking, who are our best friends? Who has never let us down? Who went through 5 hard years of law school with us? I could already tell that Sophie knew that I wanted our other 2 best friends, who were also lawyers, to join our team. Izzy and Maddie, Sophie answered, immediately interrupting my memories about my law school days. Absolutely, I want them on our team, and with them, we will be unstoppable. Okay, let's do it. Let's call them and see if they can come on board. Without taking a breath, I called Maddie. Hi, is Maddie available? Yes, hold on 1 second, I heard Mr. Rosenfeld say. Madeline, telephone, don't stay on too long, we're having dinner soon. Hello, Maddie answered in her usual high-pitched voice, overflowing with enthusiasm. Hi, Maddie, it's JP. Howdy, JP, what you up to? Sophie and I are discussing some serious business that we'd like you to help us with. Can you meet at my house on... Covering the phone with my hand, I whispered to Sophie, can you come back to my house on Friday after school? Sophie nodded yes. Maddie, can you come over after school on Friday? I continued. Let me talk to my dad. I heard Maddie shout through the phone. Dad, can I go to JP's house after school on Friday? Yes, as long as you finish that science project by tomorrow, Mr. Rosenfeld responded. I'm already done, Dad. Maddie always finished her projects weeks in advance. Yes, JP, I can come. What's this all about, though? You never sound this excited unless it's really important. It involves Sylvester Sullivan, and I need to wait to tell you the rest. Okay, I can wait. I'm curious, though. You know I will see you soon. See ya Friday. See ya, Maddie hung up. Next call was Izzy. Hello? Izzy always answered her phone on the first ring. That's because Izzy was always on the phone, either texting or talking to someone. Hey, Izzy. Hi, Chica, what's up? Sophie and I have something really important to tell you about. Can you come over on Friday, right after school? Let me check my schedule. Well, I have a meeting with the President of the United States at 4:30, but I guess I can cancel. Izzy loved to joke. It was very rare that you could catch her being serious about anything. Despite how much of a jokester she was brilliant. Whenever Izzy had a task before her, she completed it with perfection. Thanks, Izzy. Alrighty, catch you later. She hung up quickly. I turned around to Sophie. It was almost 4:30 and Sophie was getting ready to leave. Okay, JP, I think we're all set. Sophie seemed relieved that Izzy and Maddie were joining our team. I know we are. So, Sophie, we're going to change the world. Sophie nodded in agreement and we adjourned our meeting. Alrighty, guys, that is the end of chapter 4. We are now on chapter 5. Exciting. And chapter 5, we're going to see what the kids discussed during their meeting, their first meeting. We're going to see what their strategy is on getting kids the right to vote. There is some danger ahead. I'll give you that hint. No spoilers because we have more than half of the book to go. So we have a lot to discuss and a lot to read. If you want to read ahead, you can certainly buy the book on Amazon.com. But if not, you can wait. And I'd love to talk to you each week and meet you in your homes to read chapters from the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence. If you have any questions, definitely shoot them down in the comments. I'd love to answer them. Well, here's something that I want to talk about quickly. Today, this morning, I actually found one of my favorite children's books. It's on my bookshelf. And this is the American Girl Addie. This book is called Changes for Addie, but it's from the American Girl collection. Addie was an 11-year-old slave or 10-year-old slave, and she escaped from slavery. And I loved Addie books. My parents would buy me these books when I was a kid, and I would read them in one day because I just love reading about Addie. She was very, very smart. She loved education, but she wasn't able to get an education. And when I started writing, she was definitely a character that encouraged me when I started writing about jurisprudence. And so, do you guys have any children's books that you really, really liked when you were kids? Put them in the comments. Don't be shy. Any children's books that really inspired you or that you just really dove into when you were kids? Let us know. Well, let me tell you about Addie. Addie, my dad actually gave me this book on January 27th. I don't know if you guys can see this, 1995. So this book was really, really special to me. I got this book when I was 10 years old, and I actually started writing my own short story at that age about a little girl who lived in the South and went back into the past to try to change the outcome of slavery, and to try to make sure that slaves were freed. And so that actually just got my wheels turning. And I actually I'll share at some point, I'll share some pieces of that short story. But American Girl books really, really inspired me. And I actually have a friend here. Let's see. I have my American Girl doll, my Addie doll. I kind of did her hair today. Didn't do a good job, but yeah, like definitely, you know, this is Addie's winter outfit. And I still do go to the American Girl store from time to time when I'm in New York, or in Tyson's Corner. But I loved Addie. I loved American Girl dolls. This really inspired me to write. It inspired my love for history, for African American history. And so that's my story on being inspired by a children's character. And Carla, you love the Babysitter's Club, Charlotte's Web, let's see, the Boxcar Kids, all my favorites. I think I have Christie's Great Idea from the Babysitter's Club downstairs on my bookshelf. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I really, really love coming to you every week. This is just a wonderful part of this whole time that we can connect with each other, that we can share our experiences and our love for literature. So thanks so much for tuning in. Can't wait to see you next week. Subscribe to our newsletter if you haven't already, and looking forward to seeing you again next week. Take care, guys. Bye.